journey to Marblehill House, we passed the parish church at Balnakill. This magnificent building was being built in the years 1838 and 1839 onwards. According to Miss Anna Rafferty, formerly of Rathgar, her uncle worked there and often related the events of the night of the big wind. It replaced the original Catholic church which existed in Lochadrum until the early 1840s. The present church, restored extensively in the 1950s, has now been returned to its former splendour and excellence. Marblehill House is easily found. Travelling on the R353, linking Portumna and Gort, you take a narrow avenue veering south 19 kilometres from Portumna and 25 from Gort. This narrow avenue extends about 600 metres, and on your right lies the 18th century mansion of Marblehill. Similar to all landlord mansions, Marblehill, the home of Sir Henry Burke, was reached through two gate lodges, forming the entrance by private roadway or avenue. We are mindful that the avenues here leading to Marblehill were made from the slack of the furnaces from the ironworks at Woodford and of the furnaces at the house itself. The following is a picture of the most western entry, now the home of Mr. O'Donnell, and it has been extremely well kept and recently renovated. Marblehill House itself, in all its glory, must have been a most impressive structure. What a contrast between itself and the humble dwellings of parts of Ireland in those far-off years of 1776. Sadly, today, Marblehill House is silently slipping away from us, reminding us of the Shannuckle, Melon Wilta Jagomal, Ach Melon Shilkameen. Describing Marblehill House from its present appearance is quite difficult. Suffice it to say that the chosen site commanded a splendid view of its 4,000 acres of rolling grassland. At peak seasons, 25 workers were employed there, as the Burke family insisted on being self-sufficient. The workers had their own sleeping quarters and lived up the produce of the farm. Seemingly they enjoyed a good standard of living. Farming consisted mainly in beef production. Herds of cattle were walked as far as Cove Harbour as food for the English soldiers. The crumbling ruins of Marblehill House lie in the centre of Balnakill. Once a mansion of great beauty and architecture, its ivy-covered walls still remain intact. Down through the years, Marblehill House has seen many tourists and visitors. They admire the great beauty and workmanship that fashioned this building. To us, and to many others, it is well worth a visit. Marblehill has a checkered history. Incidentally, the elevated parcel of land where the house was built was then called Gortnacaboia. The new place named Marblehill was adopted by John Burke, the original owner. Translated into Irish, the area now carries the name An Creageen. Possibly the name comes from the limestone quarry which lies 400 metres north of the house. Here, in the 50s and 60s, quarry stone was crushed by Mr. Houlihan and Mr. Tracy of Scariff and used as fertiliser. Later the quarry changed owners and then work ceased. It was taken over by Roadstone. John Burke built the house in 1775. Mr. Burke was a businessman. He made a fortune selling meat and provisions during the American War of Independence, 1775. Local folklore, however, says that the source of Mr. Burke's wealth comes from barrels of gold coins found in a fairy fort in Gralla. The first recorded instance of the Burke family in Banlakill is that of Thomas MacEonach Burke and Richard MacEdmund Burke in 1617. A grandson of Thomas became a magistrate by the Dublin Castle government and helped to found the Connacht Rangers. Other historic associations: the Burke family of Marblehill were Catholic landlords. They treated their tenants well, giving much needed local employment. When the rent became due, a rent warner visited the tenants, reminding them that the rent was due. The monies were collected in the back room of Marblehill House. During the Great Hunger of 1845-1848, because of the prevalence of fever, the rent was not handled manually, but a receiver-type instrument was pushed through the opening, allowing the tenant to place his money on it. Marblehill House and lands figured much on the night of the big wind. The storm occurred on January the 6th, 1839. Very old trees near the mansion were uprooted, and salt water from Kinbarra Pier was carried across Sliabachty to the nearby hill known as Knockdramore. Sir Henry Burke, however, was a Catholic, one of the few Catholic landlords, and he treated his tenants quite well. During the land wars at the end of 1890 to 1915, there was only one eviction carried out on his estate. That was a farmer of Knockash, but he was restored to his lands again after 7 days. After the Battle of the Diamond near the Monaghan Armagh border in 1776, many Catholic families left to join the armies of Europe. Sir Thomas Burke advertised his wasteland at 5 shillings an acre in the Freeman's Journal. Almost immediately, families began to move, bringing with them all their possessions. The McEnanis, the Shadwells, Shannons, Shanes began their journey southward. They were disappointed with the quality of land, but still they remained, built stone houses, and began to cultivate the stony soil. Ultucks, or pronounced Ultucks, they were called by the local people. In time, they mixed and married the natives, and their descendants are here today.